Hello and welcome back to Hussi Talking. Today we have three guests, Jakob Gersner, Valdemar Fagerholt and Peter Stryn. We all have different inputs about horror.
Yes, and I would like to talk about the complicated and interesting concept of watching or reading horror. Watching or reading horror usually make us feel negative emotions like fear, and people normally try to avoid those negative emotions by avoiding specific situations that can make these fear come. Many people like horror though, and that's the interesting thing about it, because even though you feel the negative emotions, you still like to watch the horror instead of avoiding it. And that's why horror is described as a paradox.
But why is it that's interesting to watch horror? And why do we keep watching it?
We like horror because the genre has a great ability to let the user immerse themselves into situations that would be dangerous in real life. And immersion is a feeling of being deeply into something. And horror does that very well because the genre uses these negative emotions to get our attention. And negative emotion has a very strong ability of making us aware of what's going on around us, because it turns on the body's instincts. And there also is a theory about why we love horror, and it's called the control theory, introduced by John Morrell. This theory is about how you love feeling these negative emotions and get a adrenaline rush from it, as long as it's under control. An example for this could be the mountain climber. The mountain climber loves climbing these mountains and really being scared of what if he falls down, as long as it's like under control. As soon as he loses this control and begins falling down, for example, it's not that fun anymore. So the concept of immersion is actually connected to Merle's control theory, because the horror appeals to users because it allows them to immerse themselves into scary and dangerous situations without getting involved, as I mentioned earlier.
All right, Peter. You also had something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I'm here to talk about the concept of the excitation theory. And the excitation transfer theory is very interesting. The way it works is that it's a general theory that works like just generally for all films, but it's especially used in horror movies. And how it works is that humans get certain feelings in certain situations generally, so we'll often see in horror movies how we often have a romantic scene with the two main characters making out, but then we get what we also call a jump scare. And the reason why we do this is because the excitation transfer theory claims that we do have the emotions from the prior scene, and if they get interrupted and we have a quickly new feeling, so if we go from romantic to scared, then the scared feeling will be amplified and will be much stronger. Therefore, you can see the leftover excitation from one stimulus will amplify because you're more vulnerable. You're already like sensing this romantic feeling, and then you just out of nowhere needs to be scared. That's what all horror movies do with these jump scares, and that's why they often get us, because we're not prepared for it. There is not this long build-up that is holding us back. And that's how excitation transfer theory relate to horror.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the three different medias we typically experiences horror on, and I want to start talking about the books we read, and the reason why books might be very special or interesting to read when it's horror is because it's mental thinking. Like you think about the humans yourself. It's described very real, but you have to think about it yourself, and therefore you often think about the jump scare or the scary people, what's it called, and you think about them as the most scariest part. Like you experience them as if they were what's your worst nightmare. But in films, it's already decided how they look and what they do, because you see and hear it. You see it, but that's one of the reasons why it's scary, because you see it and you might experience or think about it yourself. But in movies, it's also scary to hear what's happening and the sound effects they use. The most scary part is mostly the body language, because you can see or feel the pain through their body. And the third media is video games, and the reason why those are scary is because you have to play them yourself, so therefore you're very focused, and you might take another path or do something yourself, and you like take it in your own tempo, and you can finish the game fast or take another path that's longer, and therefore you like choose your own path. And when there comes a jump scare or something scary happens, you are already focused, so therefore it's like it hurts yourself the most, and you think about it more. And then I want you to ask you to tell me about your favorite media to either watch or experience horror.
I personally enjoy probably video games the most. I do think that books seem very interesting in how they allow yourself to come up with your own details about whatever the narrator is not already telling you. You like picture your own world, so therefore it's more easily to be immersed in that sort of media. But the reason why I like video games is because you can choose your own path. Like video games often have story or side quests, and you can decide how far you want to go into the storyline, or if you just want to take a break from it. And there is also the possibility that you can play with others and therefore have the experience with friends, which is certainly much better than reading a book, if you ask me.
Gasner, what's your favorite platform to experience horror?
Yes, I would say my favorite platform to experience horror probably is a movie or a video game, as Peter said. The movie is because you can get really immersed into the movie and feel for the characters that experience this kind of horror. And the video game, as Peter also said, you are more in control there. You decide whether you want to go further or stop. Another interesting thing, if you took something like virtual reality, I think video games would top the films, because you are completely immersed when you have the VR headset on and playing the game.
We don't have
I will
that
have.
much time, Valde, but do you have a quickly note or?
Yes, I do, and I'm agreeing with Jacob and Peter, especially because video games actually forces you to really be into it. You can't just ignore a little detail, because if you do that, you might never get further in the game.
Alright. Thank you very much for coming today, guys. See you later. Goodbye.